Hello everyone and welcome back to Painting with Martin. Today we're going to take a look at some mummies from Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures. They're designed for D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, the role-playing game, which I happen to play almost every day as a DM, as in my role as a teacher of English in school. And that's to find out a little bit more about me. Now, turning it around, you can see that, I'll zoom in here for you guys, that it says that it's primed, paint ready out of the box, which is really cool, which means you don't have to prime it or wash it like with any dishwashing liquid or anything like that when you take it out of the box. And you can also see some artwork here. Let's see if you can see that. There is some like something like an Egyptian god or goddess of these two, and we're going to try to keep it as close to these as possible. So let's open it up, and it's from WizKids, Wizards of the Coast, I believe. So they made these. So let's open it up here, like this. And let's see here, can we take these ones out of the box? Yes, we can, I hope. Well, we'll put this one over here. And we're going to take them out and see here. There's a little bit of an unboxing as well. Sometimes you have to squeeze a bit from the background. And you see you have this beautiful figure here. It's quite small and it will fit quite nice on the table. So I'm going to take this one out as well and throw this one over there. Great. So it looks like this, kind of like one with two blades here, and the other one has a large kind of like Egyptian blade too, right, with a nice beak, bird beak here. So I'm going to keep this one here quite handy. I know there's a little bit of glare from my light, so I apologize for that. But you can see fairly I'm going to paint them as close to the card art as possible. So I'm putting this one over here just for my reference. I've got my paint pot over here. I've got some piece of paper here, a kitchen roll, and some, of course, some colors. So what we're going to do first off, to make sure that we have plenty of time for the miniature. This one is kind of like, you know, in a stabbing position. So you can put these ones over here. You can see this one is standing straight up, and this one is kind of like, you know, angled. Doesn't really show that from the card art, but that's how it is. So as they are mummies, they're fairly simple to paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at his crocodile beak, and we're going to use a contrast color from Citadel called Contrast Dark Angels Green. Looking at this one, giving it a good shake in the middle, moving my large brush over here, and taking a fairly large brush to paint this figure. I'm going to use a size 4, which is quite okay. We'll see how it goes. So first time I'm painting these ones, and of course you're taking the color neat from the box. So hopefully you can see this one, and you're going to put it. Try not to cover the parts where you have like clothes or something like that. So angling the miniature as you see fit, and painting this one here. And of course the other side, leaving it plenty of time to dry before you continue to the other parts of the miniature. If you manage to touch the other parts of the miniature, not a problem. Put some more color, paint on it. Not a problem. We can fix it up as we go along later on, but try not to, because and I hope I'm doing this the right way. Making sure everything is covered, because this is a green color, everything else will be fairly white. Okay, something like this looks quite okay. I'm going to put it over here, clean my brush, and now we're going to turn our attention to the gold parts of this miniature. It has some golden like armor over here, as well as on the waistcoat. So for that one, we're going to use Retributor armor from Citadel. And before that, of course, we close the paint pot from the contrast color, because it's very fluid. Open it up here. We paint it neat. You can dilute it if you want to, but try to keep a very thin cover for this one. Trying to paint it in one straight line if you can. And I'll tell you the reason for why we paint the gold first here and not in the highlight stage in just a second. And of course we also have a little bit of sliver up here as well. I'm making some mistakes here, I know that. Trying to keep it as neat as possible. And then of course you have got the armor here up top here. Making sure that you only cover the lower end of the armor piece. Getting around. Just for you to see, this is what I painted so far. And so you can see what you're not making any mistakes. And I'll show you up here close and personal what it means here as well. Doesn't have to look entirely perfect, but try to keep it in a straight line if you can. So looking like this, it's fairly okay. Okay, with this one turned our attention to the blades, so we can leave this one to dry in good time. And we'll clean the brush, and of course we'll close the paint pot immediately. And actually what we'll do is we also have this one, it also has some gold on it, so I might as well, since I have the gold jar open, I'll paint all the gold parts immediately on one go. So I'll turn this one up here. Bit too much gold on my brush, so brush it off on my fingernail. I'm not very good with Egyptian mythology, so if you know which god is the crocodile and which one is the beak, the bird beak, let me know. I'm gonna guess something is like Anubis, but I'm really terrible with these things. It's one of my weak points in history, so let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, please. And oh yeah, this blade is entirely made up of gold as well, as per the card art, as far as I know, and really makes the miniature stand out too. And looking quite okay. Just the top of the blade needs a little bit more color. If you want to meet me, I'm going to be at Essen Spiel, definitely on Saturday, October 5th, I believe, in Hall Europa, on the second floor, just above the Hall 3 at 4 o'clock. That's an excellent opportunity to meet your other content creators. I hope to get to go this year as well, unless, you know, an emergency or something like that stops me. Don't forget the handle here. And you can also meet your favorite other content creators, such as Gaming Rules, Slicker Drips, I believe also Actual LOL will be there. There's a few others, German and Spanish-speaking content creators. All right, so when this one is done, I'm going to turn my attention to the blade of the other character, and I'm going to use some German grey from Vallejo. This is a fairly small amount of paint left in my bottle, so hopefully I can squeeze something out, which I did. Good job. Thank you. And again, we paint it neat. You can dilute it if you want to. And I want to make sure that the paint here is like, before we apply some silver on the blades here, I want to make sure we get some shadows. So that's the reason for this one. Very, very nice technique. If you haven't used it before, I highly recommend it. And you're probably all waiting to see what's going to happen with the rest of the mummy, how we paint his like clothes or, you know, padded armor or whatever you want to call it. But we'll save this one for a bit. And something like this. Looking like this, you can see how the blade looks. Now, cleaning my brush, and now we're going to turn our attention to the figure. And for this one, you've got two options. Either you can use a sepia wash for all the clothes where the mummy is supposed to be from Vallejo, or you can also use a contrast color called Skeleton Horde from Citadel. I'm going to opt to do both, so I'll show you the difference. And by now the gold should be dried, so we'll start with this one because we started with the gold first. So I'll do some sepia wash here. I'll put it out on my palette, which is a very regular basic palette you can buy in any hobby store. You can use a wet palette, but I prefer not to use wet palettes when it comes to washes. So putting it over here, and we apply it neat, of course, and of course screwing up the fixing the lid immediately. So we use it neat, and we apply it not over the green part, of course. And as you can see, it will also act as a shade, not only for the fabric, but also for the gold. And that's the reason why I put it in the gold first. And it gives it kind of like a sandy hue. If you want a darker, more black one, you can apply Nuln Oil or some dark black wash from Vallejo, which is perfectly fine too. You'll see this one here goes well. And I know this one applies a little bit more sandy look, which I like. But it also, we're going to lighten it with some dry brushing afterwards. You don't want it to pool on the surfaces, as always. You want it to pool in the recesses. So if you feel that it's pooling too much, give it a good wipe with some kitchen towel, or just move the paint around with a damp brush. Something like this. I'm using the same brush here, size 3, but you can use a larger, flatter brush if you want to. And as you can see, I'm touching the base here, and it's not a problem. We're going to fix the base later on as well. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to leave this one to dry for a second, and then I'm cleaning the brush, and I'm turning my attention to this guy here, and then I'm going to apply the contrast color and see how that one turns out. So again, Skeleton Horde from Citadel, telling you that again, giving it a good shake before you apply the color undiluted. And as you can see, it has a very kind of like brownish look here. Not sure how well it's going to go down, but we'll see, and you'll actually see which one is best. Again, brushing it over with the blade as well in the upper part. Don't forget the legs, his undergarments, or whatever you want to call them. He's after all a mummy, so he's undead. So maybe he's not going to mind too much. But they will look much better on the table, I hope, when you play D&D. And I tend to use some miniatures in my game, not a lot, but don't forget the padded clothes on his neck. I tend to want that my students in class want to imagine things what they say instead of using some figures. But some people really like using figures, so that's up to you. I use D&D 5th edition. I'm right now on a campaign called Ghosts of Saltmarsh, as well as a regular starting adventure from the Essential Kit, which is, I think, Dragons of Icefire Peak. Both are really good adventures. I highly recommend them. So, it looks like this. Putting this one down. This one has a slightly lighter tone than this one, because this one is a wash and this one is a contrast color. There's a difference. But I'm going to turn my attention to this guy's beak now, and it's fairly dark as per the card art. It's almost black, but I don't want it too black, so I'm going to use a Citadel color called Incubi Darkness. We'll see how that one pans out. It's slightly blue in color, so I like that. And you can also mix it with a little bit of black, which maybe is what I will do as well. We'll see if I can find some black here, black colors. Yes, I do. So, mixing it in with a little bit of black from Vallejo might be a good idea, so it's not too bluish looking, but also not too dark. So I'm using about 2/3 Incubi Darkness and 1/3 black to get a nice dark look for this miniature. And applying it across the whole beak and head. And don't forget the underside of the beak, so everything is covered. Oops, fell around a little bit. Guess it's soon time to switch to a paint handle that I acquired on Kickstarter, which is going to come out on the channel quite soon. If there are any specific games you want me to cover on my channel, let me know in the comments. I would appreciate any suggestions, anything at all, that contains miniatures. Alright, looking like this. So I'm just going to show you up in the camera. Looking like that. And I'll show you the other one right now as well. Looking like this. The wash is starting to dry, which is nice. Oops, sorry, a little figure tumbles around. And now we're going to turn our attention to the mouth, because that's not covered yet. It's a little bit too much here of green here, so I'm going to use a specific color for this, and it's Citadel's Bugman's Glow, and it's going to give it more of a pinkish hue. But not too bright. I'm going to turn this one up here, and hopefully won't touch too much of the green. And don't forget the upper side, oops, of the mouth. Looks quite okay. Gonna even touch up the inner gums here as well. Looks quite okay. I'm gonna put this one down here, and we're gonna see down. Now, before we actually apply any dry brushing or something like that, we're gonna leave something to dry, and we're gonna turn our attention to the base. So for the base, I want to paint it's kind of like a desert scheme. So I'm going to use a technical color from Citadel called Agrellan Earth, which is kind of like a sandy earth. But if you want to have more of a lighter yellowish color, you can do that too. So for this one, I'm going to use an old brush. So let's see if I can find the old brush here. Yep, a very old, broken looking brush. And it's actually one of my dry brushes that I had, the Vallejo one. So I'm going to take it. It's a very textured, it's a very thick, muddy looking colour. I'm going to put it all across the base. And if you get it on his feet, that's not a problem. Maybe there's some sand spurted up on it, and that's fine too. It takes a while to dry, and when it does, it kind of cracks, which is nice. I know that I haven't covered some of it around his feet, but that's okay. I can spread it out with a piece of another paintbrush. Just want to turn it out over here. And then put it to the side. Then taking a regular brush and moving it along so it has a nice and even coverage. Now, moving this one along. As you can see, it will cover the base fairly nicely. And also the feet there if you want to. There you go, a little bit of focus. And I'll do the same here with the crocodile looking fella. And these miniatures I bought in my friendly local board game shop when I was in Sweden on vacation. And that's where I'm from. And these ones, I believe they were bought in a shop called Alpha Spel, which is kind of short for Alpha Games. And they have a huge variety of miniatures as well as board games. So with this one done, I'm now going to turn my attention to the figure itself. So what we need is we're going to use some dry brushing, which is a great technique, and we're going to use some Terminatus stone. You can also use Tyrant Skull if you want to, as this color, to lighten it a little bit. And I use a specific dry brush that I have this one, but you can also use a very old brush if you like. And what you do is you soak this one. It's a very thick, dense color. So you soak it up, and then you take a piece of kitchen roll, which I have in hand here, and you simply wipe most of the paint off until you're left with very little paint on the brush. So then you're going to use it as a stickling motion over the whole figure. Starting with this one, but lighting it up a little bit, but still keeping some of the shade there as well. And same thing for this one. See here that I missed a little bit part, so you can also use a heavy dry brush over here to make sure that it's a bit lighter if you like. Here on the other side too. Here I'm using a bit of a more dry brush here because I missed the part. I apologize for that. So you will have a whiter arm here. I'm sure you wouldn't mind. Okay, looks like this, quite okay. Now we're going to turn our attention to some highlights. And in the highlight stage, we're now going to go over the mouth, which is a kind of like a focal point of this figure. We'll turn our attention to this one later because it has less details. And the mouth, we need to apply a little bit of white to the teeth. And I'm going to use some cold white for this one, for Vallejo. You can also use regular white or simply white scar from Citadel for this one. I use it neat, and for this one, I'm going to change my brush for a very small one, called which is a size 0 brush. And I'm going to use very small pieces here. And I'm going to turn it up here for you so you can see. and you just want to dab a few pieces on the teeth here. Doesn't have to be perfect. But you want at least to cover the frontal teeth here, as well as the side teeth. Something like this. It's not perfect at all, but it's quite okay. Now, then, with very little brush on it, I'm going to also turn my attention to this guy, which has a white, like looking, white looking, like eye here, and it's quite difficult to get hang of it. We'll see if I do. See if I do here. Very, very small dab here, hardly noticeable, but that's what you need. Tiny glimmer of white here, almost evil. A little bit too much there. And that means this is ideal, but if you want to add up a little bit more to it, you know exactly where to look. I'm going to take off my glasses because I use glasses here on a regular basis, and see if I can move it up for you so you can actually see where to place it. Actually missed the part here, so it's going to be up here. There you go, and you can cover the other one up with some black, which I'm going to do immediately. Or the same color as before. Something like this. And a little bit of white here left, so we'll cover this up as mistakes too. So, looking quite okay. Now, we know that we've got some work to do for its golden armor as well. So we're going to take some highlights, and using Citadel Auric armor gold for all the armor parts. I'm going to use the same small brush for this one. Giving it a good shake before you apply it. And as you can see, it's much brighter than Retributor armor gold. So we're going to apply it on all the armor pieces. Especially on this one. And only the outer parts of the armor of the sword here. So the inner parts will have the Retributor armor. Don't forget his armor on top. So this one is now entirely done. So looks like this. Quite nice to put on the table. This one requires a little bit more work because I think that we need Retributor armor back because the other wash was a little bit too strong. So you learn from this. And after you've reapplied this one, you can apply the other gold color if you like. I'm also going to take the opportunity to paint the handles here in gold. Giving it a bit more variety in terms of colours. Don't forget the other handle. And then we're also going to turn our attention to one detail that we didn't miss, but we actually didn't cover, which is some of his, see, we're going to apply some Rhinox hide next to his gold armor. Not the sword though. Rhinox hide is from Citadel, and we're going to apply this one as on the belt here. And that's going to contrast off really well with the gold here. Let's turn our attention to this one again, see if that's the case too. No, only the upper part, but we also have a little bit up here to cover. Hopefully you'll be able to see this when I turn around afterwards. Making a bit of a mess here, but it's okay. Okay, looking like this now, and looks quite okay. Not entirely happy with how the crocodile face looks. So we're going to try and fix that. And by fixing this, I mean I want to apply a little bit of a highlight using some moot green. You can also use Caliban green if you have it. Let's see if I have that. Some Caliban green would actually be preferable. It's not as bright as moot green. And we apply it sparingly up here, where it's too bright. And what we can do is we can dry brush it on top of the crocodile's, I don't know if you say beak, but a crocodile's nose or whatever you say it. So dry brush it slightly across the nose. A little bit too much. And the underside as well. There you go, there you have it. Now, the final detail is going to be some metal on the swords. And for that, you can use either lead belcher from Citadel, or you can also use something like gunmetal grey from Vallejo. And for this one, I've chosen to use, or you can use chainmail silver as well. But this one I'm going to use gunmetal from Vallejo, giving it a bit more darker, oily colour. Natural steel would also be an option if you want that colour. And you apply it neat on the blades. Don't forget the other side as well. As well as this blade and the underside. Now, as always, when you've finished painting a miniature and it's completely dry, apply your choice of either gloss or matte varnish to protect it. And I also want to say a big thank you to all of you who have subscribed to my channel. Thank you very much. It's you who helped this channel grow, so thanks a lot. I'm also going to welcome everyone who's new to this channel, haven't subscribed before. Please do. It really helps me grow, and give it a some thumbs up, and hit the bell button would also help a lot. Thank you thank you very much for that. So I'm going to show you what these looks like right now, and this is the beak one, and this is the one with the crocodile. So I'm going to put them over here. I'm going to put them like this, so you see them. Let's see if I can zoom in here. And that's what they are. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.